Thanks for watching. I'm Margot Kimberg, and this is In the Spotlight, a closer look at a crime novel. Unusual, fringe sorts of characters can make for an interesting story. They can have fascinating backgrounds, different sorts of personalities, and add a lot to a novel. Let's take a look at a novel like that today and turn the spotlight on Candice Fox's Crimson Lake. Ted Conkenny is a former Sydney police detective whose life was ruined when he was tragically in the wrong place at the wrong time. Someone abducted Claire Bingley, raped her, and left her for dead. As it happened, Ted saw the girl, even spoke to her just before she was abducted, and witnesses have identified him. He was arrested and waited in jail for 8 months until it was finally decided that there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. But this case is not closed, and further evidence could send him right back to jail. Ted has arranged with his lawyer to move to an isolated place near the small New South Wales town of Crimson Lake. There, he'll work with a private investigator named Amanda Farrell, who is herself a convicted murderer. It is hoped that Ted will be able to start a new life. The two investigators get started on the case of the disappearance of famous author Jake Scully. His wife Stella needs evidence that Jake is dead before she can collect on any insurance, so she wants him to find out what happened to him. This case turns out to be a lot more complicated than Amanda and Ted think at first. It takes them into the world of publishing, obsession, and more. But Ted and Amanda have other major problems. For one thing, the word is getting around that Ted is possibly a child predator. That makes him a target for all sorts of vigilantes who aren't interested in listening to his side of the story. There's a great deal of danger from those people. Then there's Amanda. She's always been a little strange, one of the weird ones, and she's a proud nonconformist. The fact that she's a convicted murderer makes her even more of an outsider. Still, the two pursue the Scully case. Ted, though, is curious about Amanda. She's certainly eccentric, but she's not a cold-blooded psychopath. What would have made her go so far as murder? He starts to look quietly for information on the case. For her part, Amanda has to decide what's true and what's not about the gossip surrounding Ted. For that, she'll have to know more about the case. She'll have to know more about the day of Claire Bingley's abduction and what happened and who was there. She wants to know who else could have attacked the girl, and she starts to ask her own questions. In the end, we get the answers about the Jake Scully case, and we learn more about Ted's and Amanda's cases too. So what are the elements in this novel? What keeps it going? One major element in this novel is bias and prejudice. Many people assume Ted's guilty and treat him accordingly, without even caring what he may have to say. People have made up their minds about Amanda, too, without knowing really what happened. That bias impacts a lot of what Ted and Amanda do. The setting is also important to this story. It takes place in northern Queensland, crop country. It's a swampy place in the middle of a very hot summer, and it's not the sort of place people go for a holiday. People go there to hide, to live apart from a lot of others, and so on. It's certainly not the stuff of travel brochures. The novel is gritty and at times quite violent. Readers will also want to know that a dog is killed in the story. It's not terribly drawn out, but animal lovers will want to know this. Crimson Lake is the story of two people who are trying to find peaceful lives, despite the fact that they're fringe people. Instead, they get drawn into a complex case and drawn back into their own pasts. It takes place in a distinctly Australian setting and features small-town life and dark secrets. This has been In the Spotlight. I'm Margot Kimberg. Thanks for watching.